Now we'll correct the snare drum part. Again, this is going to be kind of just a review. I'm going to go a little more quickly this time. And then for the hi-hat, we'll look at a different method for correcting the timing. All right, so I'm going to go back to the Smart tool. I'll highlight the snare drum clip. Now the snare drum's supposed to be hitting on beats 2 and 4 of every measure. Let's solo the snare and the kick together and listen to it. I've highlighted this clip so that it should loop back when we get to the end of the clip. Close, not quite perfect. Here it is with the click track. Let's see if we can improve it. Actually, we're going to take a look at a couple of different things. First I'm going to show you something to be careful about. You can, when you're quantizing, goof yourself up. So one of the recommendations that I always have for quantizing, you want to save your work before you quantize something and then check right away after you quantize, because sometimes you can unintentionally quantize something in such a way that it moves notes too much or too far from their original position, and it can really end up sounding strange. I'm going to give you an example of that. So I've clicked on this clip. I'm going to zoom in. I'm toggling the zoom with the letter E on my typing keyboard. And we see where the notes are. They're supposed to be hitting on beat 2 and beat 4 of every measure. And you can see that one's a little late. There's an extra hit there. This one's a little early. That one's right on, that one's right on. So they're pretty close. Probably we could get away with this. It doesn't sound too bad. Right now I'm going to get rid of that extra little note that shouldn't be there. I just clicked it with the pointer or the grabber tool, and I'm going to delete it. And now I'll zoom back so I can see all these notes, and I'll drag across them to highlight them again. Again, I've got the Smart tool engaged. So got them all highlighted now. Okay, and the way we quantized before was from the event menu, event operations, and chose quantize. Now we know that those hits are supposed to occur on beat 2 and beat 4. So I could leave it set to quantize to quarter notes. I want to do something that is wrong. So you want to be careful that you don't follow along, but I want to show you how you can go wrong and get off track by quantizing. I want to select this to a half note. So now it's going to move the notes to the nearest half note. Probably will move them too far away from where they are now. Let's try it. Yeah, and let's see what that sounds like. You notice there's one missing there? That's because both of those hits that were in that area, both of the hits that were in that area were closer to this half note than either of them was to the first half note. So the one that was close to beat 1 was probably late and was instead moved to the second half note in that measure. And same thing at the beginning. Actually, no, that one's okay, I think. So this isn't going to work. Let me undo that. I'm going to use the key commands Command Z as in zebra to undo. And let's quantize it now to the nearest quarter note. Looks a little better. No missing links. Let's listen. Without the click. Okay, not bad. go back to the clip view, and we'll take it out of zoom, and we'll listen to those two parts. Definitely tighter. Let's see if we take it out of solo mode and listen to it with the hi-hats. I think the hi-hats are still off. Definitely sounds like something is wrong. All right, so now we could continue doing this. This type of quantizing is actually moving the notes. But there's another way to quantize in Pro Tools and in several other DAWs. You can do what's called real-time processing, where you can move the notes or have Pro Tools use the computer's processing power to move the notes temporarily. It's kind of a on-off sort of thing. So you can move the notes temporarily, but then if you don't like it, you can quickly move them back. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to solo just the hi-hat. Sorry, the closed hi-hat. Sounds like it's not too bad, but let's listen to it with the click. Yeah, it really feels like it's dragging. Okay, so we're going to quantize this one a different way. If we wanted to quantize it the way we've been doing it, we highlight the clip, we go up to Event, choose Event Operations, Quantize, and because these hits are happening quicker, they're happening on eighth notes, we would need to change the quantize grid to eighth notes. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do this a different way. In Pro Tools, there's something called Realtime Properties. Let me show you how I got this menu to come up again. Right over here, just to the left of the track, where the track names are, up at the very top, there's a little pull-down, drop-down menu, Edit Window View Selector. And I'm going to add something to my Edit Window View. I'm going to add something called Realtime Properties. And real-time properties, what it does is it creates these fields for quantize enable and duration enable. So here on the closed hi-hat track, I'm going to turn on quantize enable. And it's already set to a 16th note, but I'm going to double check. Yeah, and I'll set it to, actually I'll set it to an 8th note, just so we can see the notes move. Don't see them move. Okay, so this is an 8th note hi-hat part, not a 16th note. Don't know what I was thinking of. Let's move them to the nearest quarter note. You didn't see the notes move, but do you hear the difference? Let's move them back to 8th notes. Pretty good. What about 16th notes? It's putting a little hiccup because it's moving them in unpredictable ways. For this pattern, I'm going to leave them set to 8th notes. And let's see how that works with the other parts. The drum part is working a lot better now. Turn off the click. Not all of those open hi-hats are working, so let's see if we can quantize the open hi-hat. Set that to an 8th note. There we go. So that's a couple of different methods for quantizing. We've quantized the traditional method where we highlight a clip or a region of notes, a group of notes, and then we use a menu to open a window to actually move the notes. And that's what we did for the kick drum part and the snare drum part. For these hi-hat parts, we used this sort of real-time properties. The advantage of real-time properties is if we don't like the results, it's really easy to get back to what we had before. So I'm going to solo just the hi-hat. And let me turn off that quantizing from the real-time properties field. That sounds pretty nasty because it was a bad part before, but the advantage of this is you can try stuff out and easily turn it back on and off. Whoops, oh, that's what's so funny. I did duration rather than quantize. Here we go. Okay, so quantizing with the event operations menu and quantizing using real-time properties. In the next tutorial, we'll look at adding a groove.